The Department of Homeland Security came into being with the passage of the Homeland Security Act in November 2002. It is a standalone cabinet-level department to coordinate and unify Homeland Security efforts. And let's see now, it actually started up May 1st, 2003. And oddly enough, two of the contributors to how it works was Yevgeny Primakov from the KGB and Marcus Wolf from the East German Stasi. Now, these people are not exactly known for protecting their citizens. They're known for belonging to entities that oppressed their citizens. In fact, the Stasi, the East German secret police, created something called Zersetzung, and that is roughly translated, it means a decomposition of someone's life. It's a total destruction of a human being through psychological ops, because at that point in the 80s when they were using it, they were not employing directed energy weapons at that point, but they were driving all kinds of dissidents to suicide, which is what they were intending to do. They wanted these people to off themselves so they wouldn't be blamed, and they would get rid of these inconvenient people. Well, that has been taken up by the Department of Homeland Security. Fusion centers then were created in the wake of the 2001 terrorist attacks, and basically they were for gathering intelligence and surveillance and sharing it among law enforcement agencies. They wanted the DEA, the NSA, the CIA, the FBI to share information with the local police, sheriff's department, et cetera, and for them to share back up the chain. So they didn't want to miss anything, which I find rather ironic because I was at NSA for 9/11, and 2 days after it happened, I came back in and was told by another analyst who worked in a different shop that he and his team in his office had written 6 months worth of warnings about 9/11 that were squelched by Director of NSA, General Hayden, and Deputy Director Bill Black. They were squelched. These people were told to shut the heck up. They were not allowed to report it, or they would be dealt with harshly. So this man actually was in the hall crying when I walked into work. So I was rather horrified, and I waited for that information to come out and for people to get in trouble, and it never did. I didn't get the man's name, so there was really no one to go to with that information because it was hearsay at that point. 9 years later, there was another gentleman from NSA I met who told me exactly the same story. So I did pass his name to the new 9/11 Commission, and I'm hoping something can come of that. But this only shows that the whole Homeland Security police state concept was fabricated, and it cost almost 3,000 people their lives to create this police state on a false basis. So I wanted to add that because it's horrible. And the fusion centers, like I said, were supposedly created to help fuse intelligence so that people wouldn't be taken unaware again. They have now expanded to about a number of 80 throughout the United States. And as you said before, there are multiple articles through the years saying, what is it the fusion centers are doing? They're spending, millions to billions of dollars, and we're seeing nothing for it. They have identified no terrorist activity of any consequence, nothing that had any value, nothing that came about, that was true. And they certainly have stopped no terrorist attacks whatsoever. So what they did was they started to include crimes and nefarious threats or nebulous threats, claiming people were criminals so that they needed to investigate them. So they would write up something and send it to the FISA court, get a surveillance warrant, and then they would surveil the person to death. All you needed, according to Barack Obama in 2013, was 2 people saying that you were this or that. You're a bank robber, you're a pedophile, whatever. All you needed was 2 people to say that and swear to it. There was no proof necessary. So they never investigated that. They just let almost anything roll. And they would take it to the FISA court, lie to the FISA court. I should go back and say that there was a lawsuit that found out that once you ask the fusion center to target someone, they put in a request to the main fusion center. But you can put in a request for a false dossier to be written up on the person and given to the fusion center nearest that person. They take it to their civilian vigilantes, InfraGard and others, and they actually use some crime gangs. They use people from criminal gangs. They take it to them and say, okay, this is a person we're going to be stalking and harassing 24/7. This is the supposed crime. And of course, the excuse is, this is social justice, because we just can't quite get the evidence we need to actually charge the person and lock them up. So we're just going to destroy them this way. So they have a never-ending investigation, which actually includes not only 24/7 harassment, but it can include slitting your tires, arranging car accidents, murdering or stealing your pets, sabotaging your car so that you have to spend hundreds or thousands of dollars on car repair, going to your job and telling your boss that you're a horrible person, you're a psychopath, you're a pedophile, blah, blah, blah. He needs to fire you. And of course he will, because fusion centers can put pressure on people because they turn out to be bullies. They're just bullies. I've been told multiple times and experienced it that they will apply pressure to medical people to botch your tests or lie to you about the test or misread them or show you the test results for someone else, so that you either don't know that you have been injured or you think you've been injured when you haven't. So a lot of that is going on. And of course, that makes it nearly impossible for a targeted individual to record physical damage being done to them by the weapons they have decided to include in this quote unquote surveillance. The weapons that I have been told about come in about 3 categories. One, the directed energy weapons, which can be handheld, or they can be powered by car engines, or they can be standalone. That is basically aimed at you from a neighbor who's very concerned that you are a whatever it is they tell them. And they're very interested in the under the table gift cards that fusion centers funnel through what it looks like to be Lockheed Martin will take tax dollars from the fusion centers and create gift cards for people. Second type of attack on you, they are employing gases and poisons that the military industrial complex wants to find out how they work on certain people. So the fusion centers, which are always desperate for money, and of course they are adding people onto the watch list to make it appear there are many more threats than there are, for the sake of money and for the sake of continuing their careers, that basically it's creating a police state when we don't need one. I'm sorry, but there aren't that many terrorists. There just aren't. I mean, in almost 20 years, they haven't stopped any terrorist attack that was planned. They haven't found any terrorist attack that was planned. So now they're throwing you and me onto the terrorist watch list to create a threat that's simply not there, so they can garner almost billions, maybe billions of dollars, for the 80 and growing number of fusion centers all around the country. Another thing that they will do is if you have an opportunistic operation, they could go in there and insert medical chips that they want to find out what they can do. Some of these medical chips, well, everybody gets chipped one way or the other with a GPS, so they can find you anywhere that you go, so there's nowhere to hide. They can find you in a building. They can find you in a crowd. They know when you're traveling. It's really horrific. And then to get those chips out, if you can find them, is thousands of dollars, because it's a voluntary operation, so it's not covered, and it becomes extremely expensive to take them out one by one. If you can get a doctor who hasn't been threatened and told you're not going to take that chip out, that's federal business, and you're not going to touch it, or you're going to lose your license. So they will go and bully people to not help you. If there's a policeman who tries to help you, he'll be told by his supervisor, stay out of it or lose your career. Like I said, they use investigation to basically destroy people because they have no intention of charging them with anything. But again, when we get back to the third type of harassment and human trafficking, because they're making money from doing this on the side. There are the chips, they're medical chips, and they can basically strategically place them for transhumanism experimentation to see if they can make somebody's arm or leg or whatever move when they are controlling it remotely and the person can't resist. They also have chips that will deteriorate the person's body in an effort to mimic the destruction of the body by a certain disease, so they can watch and see how the body deteriorates, so that that person whose life they're destroying can serve as a model for them to come up with a cure for the cash cows who actually are born with this disease or malady or get it. So they use healthy people to destroy their health, with never helping them. They just destroy the health, and they don't, the person can't prove it. So they just go ahead and destroy that person's life. Tough luck for them. They learn a lot about the disease, and then they charge people who have it millions of dollars to treat them. So they make money off of destroying the targeted individual's life. In all of these cases, gases, poisons, electromagnetic radiation, but the viciousness of the defamation is really astonishing, because they scare people to death. They tell you, oh, that 84-year-old woman who's been living there 30 years, and oh, she's really a serial killer, and people are so stupid that if you show them a badge, they will believe anything. And they're so greedy that once you say, hey, here's some under the table money that is not taxable, you don't have to do much of anything. So this is what the fusion centers are up to. They're loading the terrorist watch list with perfectly innocent people. They know that they're perfectly innocent, and they're destroying their money, their lives for money. Not only the government money that they're being paid to use to fight terrorists, but they are getting paid on the side by the military-industrial complex, medical laboratories, and they are making some nice little kingdoms for themselves, because they are the town bully, they are the city bully, like the Gestapo. Like I said, they are just absolutely destroying people for money. And they've been investigated multiple times, and nobody can hold them accountable for this money. In fact, one recent article talked about the Pentagon spending $5 billion in the last few years on paying civilians for, unnamed civilians for unnamed services. So is that possibly going to the fusion centers? It could be. It very well could be. It sounds very suspicious.